Welcome to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a cafe au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 96th episode of the SImple Sophisticate. Today, I am so excited to be speaking with a blogger I admire and am regularly inspired by, Sharon Santoni. And I am so excited because this episode is full of great inspiration. Starting with our interview with Sharon, we both sit down and we happen to both have our hot tea as we were conversing and talking about all things French. But at the end of the episode, I also have a Petit Plaisir. Don't worry, I would not forget it. It is a French dessert that is simple and absolutely scrumptious. So be sure to stay tuned for the end of the episode. And there is even more. Sharon is going to be giving us a giveaway of one of her books, My Stylish French Girlfriend. So be sure to stay tuned to discover how you can win your very own copy of her new book. Now, a quick programming note. You will hear a little bit of interference when I am asking questions, but I have done as much work as I possibly can to reduce it as much as possible. Sharon sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm still figuring out how to best tape an interview, and I promise to continue to improve. Now let's jump across the pond to Normandy, France, where Sharon will be joining us from. In a way, I'm going to take you to France in today's episode. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to talk about everyday life. We're also going to talk about passion. We're going to talk about trying to bring that French every day into your life, no matter where you live, as well as her passion for brocante antiquing. And I think you'll find that fascinating as well. I learned something new, and I hope you walk away inspired and maybe being reminded that you are doing an amazing job of living your life. Everything you need is right in front of you, if only we know how to access it. Without further ado, here is my interview with blogger and author, Sharon Santoni. Today, I am tickled to have a special guest on the podcast, speaking with us from her French country home in Normandy, France, Sharon Santoni. Some listeners may already know her, as we share many crossover readers with our mutual love for France. But for those who might not, Sharon Santoni is the creator of the internationally adored blog, My French Country Home, and the author of the book, My Stylish French Girlfriends, which was just released this past September. Welcome to the podcast, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you for inviting me across the ocean to join you.
Absolutely. You're my first international interview, and I am tickled.
Right? How exciting. Lucky me.
All right. So a few questions just to get us started. So living in Normandy, France, your blog, as I mentioned, My French Country Home, began in 2010. And I pulled a statement from your About page because I love what you shared. You describe it as, this blog is about French country living, about keeping it simple. It is about family life. It is about popping into Paris for the day. It is about living with those dogs, about my love of brocante, and most of all, it is about seeing everyday beauty. What was your inspiration for beginning your blog and sharing your life with readers? Because that's a very personal decision to let people into your life.
You're right, it is very personal, but actually, I don't actually give away that much of our personal family life, and in particular because when I started writing the blog 6 years ago, I still had several of my children still living at home, and I was very conscious of the fact that I didn't want to show our family home because that was their private home. And so I sort of got into the habit, which is actually why you see the dogs quite a lot, because they're sort of intimate without being intimate, if you see what I mean. I think that for any blogger, finding the line of sharing without divulging more than you're comfortable with, I think everybody has to find their own line. So I like to think that I share elements of everyday French living without necessarily sharing too many personal details of my own life, because first of all, I don't think everybody will be that interested in it, and secondly, my pleasure is to share what I see around me.
Well, and you do a beautiful job of that, and in a way, it seems that is very much what, at least for me, attracts me to the French culture, is that there is this air of mystery, but also this beauty and romanticized way of living, of the appreciation of the everyday, and you share that with your readers in a wonderful way. In fact, I love your book, by the way, My Stylish French Girlfriends.
Thank you.
But one of the things that I love about each of them that you share is that, you do get to know their outer life, but they're all very unique. And I guess that leads me to my next questions, is that there's always something that seems to be the same. Let's see, how should I say this? The French culture, Francophiles, what they tend to love, at least what I love, is that there is that air of mystery. And the secret, it seems, is not about trying to emulate perfectly what you do or what some other French woman does or what any of your 20 girlfriends that you profile do, but to tap into what is unique about your life. And I guess my question is, what specifically do you admire about each of your 20 girlfriends that you profiled? How did you come to choose, or what drew you to them initially when you met them?
Well, it wasn't just an easy, simple task, I must say, choosing them all. And I was very, very fortunate to have so many people available who were willing to open their homes and their lives to me and cameras. I wanted to. I'm natural. I think, like all of us, I'm naturally drawn to women who are strong and who have a strong direction in their own lives, who are passionate and excited about what they do each day. And so I would try to, first of all, I was really wanting to choose people from all over France because I was hoping to show different regions of this lovely country. I tried to show women of different ages as well, because I think that's important. And then I wanted to show people who really had a story to tell and a passion to share. And I got lucky because they all also had very beautiful homes and very different style homes to share with us as well.
And they are all each unique. One of the things that I thought was really refreshing is you said that the homes weren't styled. This is how they live every day. Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh yeah, but that was totally true. Honestly, we didn't. Each of the girls, before I sort of interviewed them personally before we did our photos. Some of them are really very close friends already, so I really didn't have to interview them. Others were friends, but not such intimate friends. So we did sit down and have a sort of Q&A session. And all of them, I said, would you like us to would you like to have access to sort of hair and makeup for the photo sessions? And they all turned that down. And in the same way as they all turned down hair and makeup for themselves, none of them needed any help styling their homes for our photos. And I guess they probably, tidied away the odd book or the newspaper, which we all have lying around. But we really did walk in, and on several occasions we walked in to the houses where the photographer had never been before, and they just said, oh, well, you go wherever you want, you can take photos of whatever you want. And I thought, gosh, I thought that was pretty amazing myself.
Absolutely.
There were no boundaries.
If nothing else, it's inspiring that they truly are. It's an authentic way of living, and that's that. So I read it initially in the fall, and I actually shared the book on this podcast on our Petit Plaisir. And then
thanks so much.
Oh, I loved it. And I was book earing different places with regards to some of the girlfriends that have chateaus, that have bed and breakfasts. But I read back through it and I read it closer and I learned that. And I went back through it again just to say, oh my gosh, she does this by herself. Oh my God, it is possible. It is. And so I saw it through a different lens, and I love that. And I hope the readers also will see that through that. They can too. They can do this. And I think what came through is it was revealed that they're passionate about it, as you said, and they do come from all walks of life, in which seems you met many of these women when they were immersed in their passion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, in actual fact, I saw Alicia, who is the first in the book because it's by alphabetical order, so the letter A. I met her, I just bumped into her last week when we were filming at the antique fair in Paris, because that is her business, and that is how I first met her, because I went to the antique fair and came across this beautiful stand with this really pretty young woman on it, and bright blue eyes, and I just knew she had a story to share, and so we got talking, and now we are really quite close friends.
Well, and that's a great question. I was curious because you are doing what you love, and what advice do you have for anyone? Because you're meeting these women that are also doing what they love, and as you said, in many different walks of life. What advice do you have for anyone who hasn't yet honed in on what they're passionate about, or isn't quite sure if they should? What have you found to be true for you?
Well, I think being able to live out your passion, whatever that may be, I think that's one of the biggest luxuries actually in life. And I think that to do that, you have to be able to do it materially, financially as well. And so often the fact that you can live out your passion is going to be a reflection on your sort of living circumstances, on your partner, if they're happy for you to go ahead and do really, and go for your dream. And I'm very fortunate that my husband has really supported me in everything that I'm doing on the blog and or everything that I'm pushing for with this website. I'm lucky that I'm living my passion, writing this blog and taking this blog in the different directions that I get very excited about, and that I really try hard to make sure that anything that I want to do on my website, the website must first of all pay for, which is very sort of down to earth, but I just think it's a good rule that works for me, because it gives everything that I do, it gives it credibility. And I'd rather strayed away from your question about passion, but I think it's because
this is honest.
Living your passion, it can't be some sort of airy-fairy idea for me, I think, at my age. For me to be living my passion, it has to be something that's credible, and that it have to be something that I can look somebody in the eyes and say, this is what I do, I'm having a great time, but it does actually mean something, it is actually going somewhere. I feel like I'm hopefully also showing my children that at whatever age you're at, you can discover new passions and you can go for your dream, and you can make things work if you have the vision and the drive.
I think that part's the key part that you said there at the end, is that if you have the passion and the drive, because you're not going to be making money right off the bat. If it's something you want to turn into a career, it's got to be something you're willing to invest in. And oftentimes,
exactly.
And
you have to be willing to invest in it. But I think I think with the media today that it's so easy to be led off in it's never ending. You know that as well as me, Shannon. It's never ending. If you want to, you could just do this all day, every day, and go off on one route and then to another. I think if to follow your passion, you have to have a clear vision of where you want to go, and then be fortunate enough to be in a position where you can really drive for that and go there directly.
Well, and the passion part comes when you have to have the fuel to want to do this, because it is going to take time and energy. And if you don't have that passion, you're going to run out of fuel when it's not easy right off the bat, which it never is necessarily easy. It's just that you love doing it.
Yeah, I think in my experience, building up your dream and building up your project tends to go in sort of steps and then plateaus, and you sort of get to a plateau and think, nothing's really moving at the moment. And that's when you find a new way to give yourself and to give your project new energy and to push it forward one step further. And that's what's so enjoyable.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have thoroughly loved your new addition to your blog, your video series. And what I'd like to do really quickly, just so that the listeners have an opportunity to hear it, is just to show a quick clip of your last video, of the Chateau Brocante. And then you can kind of tell us what's going on and what this new series, this new creative outlet is for you. Here we go.
My name is Sharon Santoni. I write the blog My French Country Home. Today I'd like to take you with me to Chateau on the west of Paris to visit one of my favourite antique fairs. The fair at Chateau takes place twice a year, March and September, and lasts for 10 days each time. There's something very special about Chateau. There's so much to see, so much to buy, so many places to have a coffee or eat lunch. And because the fair lasts for 10 days, there's a relaxed, happy atmosphere, a feeling that you're allowed to take your time, and that if you don't manage to see it all in one day, then you just come back in a few days' time to take in the rest. It's obvious that the dealers enjoy the fair as much as the public. They each bring their most beautiful brocante pieces, and quite a few bring their dogs too. The fair is an occasion to sell, but also an opportunity to see their brocante friends. The sight of dealers sitting down to eat together is as much a part of Chateau as the extraordinary mix of goods for sale.
And just so listeners know what we're looking at when we're looking at the video, Sharon is taking us through the Chateau Brocante Fair that took place just earlier this month, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That's right. Yes, it was in the middle of March. It's twice a year. Chateau is on the west side of Paris, and the fair takes place twice a year and for 10 days each time. It really, truly is one of my favorites. And so that was in March, and then it will be again in September.
And well, even though I honestly have never been to one of the markets or the flea markets, and this it's just a treat for the eyes. The production is beautiful. It reminds me of a Barefoot Contessa video where she takes us around her passions, and your voiceover, brilliant job. What inspired you to do this, and what can we expect in the future?
I'm very excited about my videos. I must say, this is my new project. As I said just now, sometimes you get to a sort of plateau and you think, okay, what's the next direction? And I really feel that people are enjoying videos more and more and looking for more and more visual content. And about 3 minutes seems to be a good length to go with. So because I'm in this fantastic position here of having access to so much great material, I'm hoping, in an ideal world, I would like to bring you 2 videos a month. I think that's actually pushing it for the moment. I think it was going to be sort of a video every sort of 3 weeks, I think. And each month I'm going to try and do something different. So be it floral design or antiques, or inside a chateau, or home design, or visiting a garden, but really something as if you were with me, Shannon, and I just said, hey, come along with me today, let's do this.
Oh, it completely feels like that. I feel like I am with you, and I'm just enjoying the various details, and I love all the dogs everywhere. That was a lovely little treat. So they really are they just bring their dogs with them, and I that really happens. I love it.
They totally bring their dogs with them. And I honestly I thought about bringing one of my dogs, Ghetto, with me to the fair, and then he's so badly behaved, I just thought, no, let's just keep it simple. I think it would have been guaranteed havoc, so I didn't do that.
That's all right. Yeah, that is one part that I do love about your blog, is the images and inclusion of your four-legged companions. So they add a tremendous amount of companionship to our lives for sure.
Yeah.
You do offer, and I didn't realize this. You offer tours, or is it with regards to antiquing? What is the offerings you give to guests or customers or clients when they want to, seek out your expertise when it comes to antiquing in Paris and Normandy?
And in Normandy as well. This is actually in two different levels, really. I have a group tour most years in September, where people come from all over the world, actually. I sort of take a group of, say, between 8 to maximum 12 people for 6 days. We stay at the Château de Malville and have a very full itinerary, buying antiques, but also visiting this area of Normandy. We actually go to that Chateau Fair for the first day. We go to another fair as well, a big country fair. We visit gardens, we have a cookery class, and we do a lot of shopping. So that's one sort of the brocante tours that I do. And then I actually have private or rather professional buyers who come here to shop for their stores or for their businesses back home. And I love both activities, I must say. They're both very different. With the professional buyers, it's very long days, but I have met some really, really wonderful people, and we have a very good time. I have to say, we have a very good time together, and they go back tired but happy.
Tired but happy. Well, and it sounds like it's a full experience. I didn't realize it was not just antiquing, but the cooking and the tour. That sounds absolutely lovely.
That's for the group tour, yes. For the professional buyers, no, we really are just buying from morning till night. But for the group tour, yes, we try to make it. For many people, it's their first time visiting this part of France. So even actually just driving around the area, we quite often just pull over to the side of the road and have a photo stop. But I try and get a good balance so they feel they've had a good taste of Normandy by the time they go home.
Sounds wonderful. And I really quickly, I love how you describe brocante antiques as casual antiques. I honestly hadn't known too much about. I know about antiques, but I didn't know too much about brocante until I started following your blog. What I guess, how do you differentiate? Is there a certain definition, or maybe there isn't? And for those of us who may not know, and then what draws you to brocante over traditional antiques? What has drawn you to that?
Well, I think it's largely a question of fashion. That at the moment, what we would call brocante, what I would call brocante, for example, is a table with patina and chipped paint rather than a highly polished walnut table. That's sort of, that would be the sort of epitomize the difference. And we have here in the country, we have on Sunday mornings, actually this Sunday will be the first of the fairs because it's Easter weekend. We have these country fairs where there's quite a lot of junk, but there's also quite a lot of brocante pieces to be picked up, and there's a lot of repurposing that goes on, and you can sometimes come across somebody who's emptying a wardrobe full of French linens, or you might come across a beautiful set of china or some old tables and chairs. You never really know what you're going to find. So really, this love of this enjoyment of brocante and flea market finding is because I have it on my doorstep, and I enjoy sharing that pleasure with people who come here.
Well, you truly seem to know how to pick the right beautiful pieces. The pictures you show are just wonderful. I'm curious because you are originally from England. And,
yes.
Okay, and so but you've lived now longer in France than you had in Britain. So
that's right. I try not to talk about that too much. It makes me so old.
Oh no! Well, just tell someone that you truly have spent quite a lot of time in this country, and I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. So one of the things you love are the brocante antiques. What are some other things you love about living in France? Maybe specifically Normandy, or just simply the French culture?
Well, in Normandy, I do love the countryside. We are so lucky because I'm only an hour from Paris. I mean, I can drive in for lunch and then drive back again early afternoon, no problem at all. But we really, really are out here in the country, and the countryside here is beautiful. It gave us the opportunity to raise our children in the countryside, for the girls to have ponies. That was a real luxury, I think. But a luxury in the way that you, Shannon, talk about luxury. I'm not talking about a bling bling luxury. I'm talking about the simple luxuries, which for me are space and taking your time and having access to wonderful markets where you can buy good quality food, and hopefully growing some of that good quality food in my garden. That is the sort of luxury that attracts me more than I guess more than fast cars and diamond rings, which actually nobody's ever offered me, but if they did, I think I might still choose the green countryside.
Well, there you go. And it was more fulfilling. The fast car gets you there too quickly. You can't appreciate it. Right? I don't know. What is your everyday like? What are some of your favorite daily rituals? That's one of the things we enjoy talking, or I talk about often on the blog. Daily rituals, maybe a morning or evening. What are some of your favorite everyday routines?
Well, the days here can be quite varied because of the stuff I do for the blog, and because also sometimes I actually have a life and do other stuff as well. But now that we are officially empty nesters, our 4 children are away doing their own thing now. Like you, I try to walk the dogs each day. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but they've got a big garden, so they don't give me too hard time about it. We do still have a couple of horses who have to be fed and watered every day, so that's also a good reason to get out and get moving. I try to get to the farmer's market, once or twice a week, and try to sort of, just find the right balance. Find the right balance working at home between caring for my home and driving my project. So that really hasn't answered your question at all, has it? What can I say more?
Absolutely has. Absolutely has. Thank you for sharing that. Truly, for many of our listeners that are tuning in, and even for myself, you're living a life that is but a dream to most of us. And I guess my last question I'll end with is one of the quotes that you have in your book, My Stylish French Girlfriends, is that they are women who work every day with passion, who love to take care of their homes, their families, and themselves. And so what advice do you have for women who embrace the qualities of French living, but do not have the opportunity to live in France?
Well, a lot is made about French living, and I certainly, this is where I have chosen to live, and I do love it here for many reasons. But I think that you can create a rich and passionate life wherever you are. I really think it's important to keep your eyes open to beauty around you, to keep your priorities straight, to cultivate good relationships, good friendships, and to discover what it is that you enjoy most and go for it, and listen to your inner self, whether that means, I believe a lot in the power of doing something creative, and that doesn't only mean somebody who's painting a picture. I mean, I love to garden, and I believe that's a great creative outlet. And I firmly believe that that's a big part of a happy and passionate life, is finding a creative outlet, no matter what that may be.
Well, you've done a wonderful job of doing that, and thank you for sharing it with us. You are truly, and I say this as a fan, but as a fellow blogger, you're inspiring. You truly are inspiring.
Coming from you, Shannon, that's a very great compliment. Thank you so much.
Readers and listeners, visit the blog, My French Country Home, to see through Sharon's eyes a beautiful way of living an everyday life in Normandy, France. Thank you for joining me, Sharon.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
And for all of the links to Sharon's blog, My French Country Home, her book, My Stylish French Girlfriends, to view the video and all of her videos, go to the show notes, today's show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast96. As well, I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. Sharon is taking us with her camera, I guess you could say, and sharing with us a glance at her everyday life in France with pictures. So go to the blog, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast96 and view a lovely day in pictures with Sharon Santoni. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten. There is a giveaway opportunity. One lucky listener will have the opportunity of winning Sharon's book, My Stylish French Girlfriends, which I profiled back in the fall of 2015, as I myself truly enjoyed this book and have found myself going back a couple of times, as each of the women are inspiring in their own unique ways. How do you enter? Simply leave a comment on today's episode on the blog, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast96. Include your email address or where you can be contacted should you be the lucky winner. And make sure you enter by Sunday, April 3rd, which is this year, just in case you're tuning in future years, 2016, by noon Pacific Daylight Savings Time. If you would like a copy of the book directly, just go to the blog. You can find a link there, but I encourage you, if nothing else, to visit Sharon's blog, My French Country Home. It was an absolute pleasure having her on, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Now I'm going to take a brief break, and when I return, this week's Petit Plaisir. Welcome back. This week's Petit Plaisir is Clafoutis à pois. Clafoutis au pois is a common dessert. Many people make it with cherries and other fruit, but this time, pois, we're making it with pears. And there's something I love about pears. They don't have the tartness that you're going to find in apples or in cherries, but they have the subtle richness that I love about this fruit when you bite into it. It's a simple dish. It sounds fancy and it even looks fancy. And I have a picture of it on today's show notes. But it's the simplest French dessert I have made in a very long time. And I highly recommend you make it. Your taste buds will be satiated. You'll have just enough sweetness with a lot of flavor. And it won't put you out for hours and hours and hours as you wait. It takes maybe 20 minutes to mix everything up and get it ready to be put in the oven. And then once it's in the oven, you're waiting 40 to 45 minutes and then it's done. You can either serve it in a single skillet, which is what I did, or you can serve it in 4 separate small dishes that are able to be put in the oven. Absolutely up to you. Where is this recipe coming from? Well, some of you quickly noticed and remembered that last month in February, Barefoot Contessa had an episode where she went to Paris. And she stepped into the restaurant Spring, which is the restaurant of American chef who lives in Paris, Daniel Rose. This is such a successful restaurant that he had to move his restaurant to a larger location in Paris, or Paris. And the recipe he shares with us is the one I took and tweaked just slightly on the blog today and today's episode of the podcast. Clafoutis à pois. I highly recommend stepping into the kitchen and making this. It won't take that long to make, and it won't take that long while it's in the oven. You can be making your dinner while it's in the oven, which is exactly what I ended up doing. So visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast96 to view the images as well as the recipe. And I do hope you enjoy. Bon appetit. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe. Anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you for tuning in to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonjour!